it's so important to have that upfront, honest, trustworthy conversation as soon as absolutely possible, and don't surprise them at the end. Because one thing customers don't like, except for on their birthdays, they don't like surprises, especially when it comes to money. When it comes to money, surprises are not your friend.
Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload, so you can build a seven-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in.
Well, everybody, and welcome back here to the podcast. I have John Valenta's back on with General Paving Stones. And last week we jumped into sales training and personal growth and his journey the last 5+ years with investing time and money in communication and how that's impacted his life. So if you guys haven't heard that, go back and take a listen. He dropped a lot of great information there, a couple of good questions to ask, and shared a lot of great stories. So this week we're going to jump into, regardless of how good your sales systems are, sometimes the world's going to throw you curveballs. The question is, how do you show up? What do you do with those curveballs? Do you take them inward? Do you push them outward? What do you do with them? So John, welcome back.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive in this. You've been in business now, you said 13 years doing this?
13 completely on my own. Yeah. 16 for my father before that.
So, okay. So you've had plenty of experience on both sides of the fence there for sure. So
Yep.
You're definitely well qualified to talk into this category. So what are some challenges that you've faced recently in your business that have really had you question things? Be like, wait a minute here. Am I doing it right? What's going on? What's going on in the world? What are some things that have come up for you lately?
Yeah. Well, since I started the sales training and, had an actual sales process, things went really smooth for, almost 4 years, 3.5 years. If someone didn't want to work with me, I'd get that no real early on. And if someone did, great, and we'd go through the process. We have a design process where, we'll take a deposit, design the project, work with them to pick materials, do the estimate, get to the final proposal. And I had nobody ever say no at that point until I think it was the spring of 24. I had 2 really big design agreements. One of them right around 100,000, one of them just below. Um, got that deposit. We charge a 5% deposit and go through the whole design and material selection, get to the end, and 2 of them I got a no. And it was a shocker. I always give them that option. If we get through the whole design process and for whatever reason they don't want to move forward with the project, that's okay. The design is theirs to keep. They paid for it. And that way, it's like less pressure on them. And I did the design, at least I got paid for it. It doesn't help the company because it doesn't give us a job to build, but at least I was, covered my time working with them. But yeah, I got 2, and that was the first since I had started the sales training, pretty much, you know, 10 out of 10 closing ratio for 3.5 years. And then boom, I had 2 in a row. That changed their mind when we got to the end of the design. And, that would have given us quite a bit of work. And then I'm, looking at, oh no, what do we do? It's spring. We're supposed to be jammed with work and now we're not.
How did it feel to receive those 2 no's back to back like that?
Yeah, it was definitely shocking and just, made me think, what did I do? What did I do wrong? One of the things was, the projects started to grow during the design phase. So they started to, creep above the original agreed upon budget range. Wanting to, give them what they're looking for. But as we're designing the project and they keep adding this and that, I probably should have communicated earlier saying, hey, this is probably going to, bring it above the budget versus waiting to the end. And then, coming in with a proposal above the budget range we originally discussed. And then they decided not to do the project. So it was definitely a learning experience for me.
Yeah, for sure, dude. And I have to say, it's happened to me many times too, right?
Yep.
Even with sales training and teaching and all that stuff before those days, it was so much of holy moly. Yeah, they would like, the client would be like, yeah, I know I want to add, how about a water feature would be nice to add here. Well, we're at 100,000 right now. Yeah, we're going to do a water feature. I want to add a seating wall and I definitely want that little putting green. Like I have to have that putting green. Okay. Well, and you're thinking, at least I'm going to speak for myself. I'm thinking, well, they know they're adding to the price, right, John? They know they're adding to the price. They know this is going to be a lot more than they originally started with. So I take the bait. I start designing these things and I show them the design and I'm like, sweet, it includes that seating wall. It includes that water feature. It includes a putting green and all the stuff that they talked about. And then I go and give them the price, and what was a $100,000 project is now 135,000 or whatever, right? A lot more. And they look and they're like, "Oh, we can't do that." I'm like, "In what world does this make sense? I mean, you just asked me for things that cost money. Did you think I was gonna throw them in there? Like, oh, sure, we can cover that with the 100 grand that you already spent." It's like, where does that work anywhere in life? Can you go to the car dealership and be like, I want that base model. It's 35 grand for that whatever car. Yeah, but no. I actually want the premium, but for the same price because I wanted those features. You should include them. It's like, what what is going on here? Like, so it can be super frustrating when it comes down to that point. But to have two of them back to back like that, I'm sure that wasn't fun at all, especially if you're trying to book your spring out.
Yeah. Yeah, that was rough. I thought I'd have, work for the summer for the whole crew, and all of a sudden I didn't.
Yeah.
So one of the things that saved us, um, my sales trainer calls a Trojan horse. And it's a script that you don't have to read word for word, and it's a phone call. It can't be a
Mm,
text or an email. You gotta make the phone call. And he asked me, you know, how many jobs have you done? How many, satisfied clients do you have? And I'm like, I don't know, hundreds.
mm,
And he said, how many do you keep in touch with? And that was the light bulb because my answer was zero. So I made about 75 phone calls to previous clients going back 10 years. And, first, reminded them who I was, said that, hey, it's been X amount of years since we did this project for you. How's everything holding up? Everything still look okay? Does
mm,
anything need attention? If so, I'd be glad to come out and address it.
mm,
And number one, you're instantly, building huge trust and value right there. And you have to get over the fear that maybe something does need to be fixed.
mm,
Maybe some pavers did settle or shift, or a retaining wall cap got loose. And I'm going to go back and fix it for free, and that's going to cost me money. But you don't want that defective project out there. You don't want their friends, family, neighbors to come over and see this beautiful patio that has like a little sunken spot. And
mm.
then they're going to say, well, who did this? Why
Yep.
hasn't he come back to fix it?
Yep.
So I want to know. And if there is something that needs attention, I want to go back and fix it. And going back and fixing a project that I did 10 years ago for free is a very small investment, better than any investment you can make in any other kind of marketing.
Mm.
Because then
Amen.
they're going to tell everybody
Oh yeah.
that this guy came back 10 years later and fixed this for free. And I didn't even have to ask him to do it. He called
Yep.
me.
Yep.
And that was like a big savior. Yeah, we did a couple of small repairs for free, but we got a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I would say about 3/4 of our sales that year was from those phone calls I made, because then people would say, oh, since you called or since you came here, I've been thinking about doing this, or I really need
Hmm.
to do this. Some people had forgotten about me, and I called and reminded them that I'm still around and we're still doing this type of work. And they had a project they were thinking about, and my phone call triggered them to say, hey, let's do this project. And that kept us in business and kept us busy and kept us working that year.
I love that, dude. That's such a good thing. Such a good thing to do. And, you already have rapport with those people. They already paid you once. So to come back and
Hmm.
stand with that and be like, hey, I'll take care and fix it. Because the last thing you want, to your point, is someone stepping off a step that you have in a staircase with a loose cap that they're afraid that grandma's going to break her ankle on or fall off of, or a kid's going to get hurt, and not knowing what to do and not wanting to bother you and just forgetting about it. If you show up and to fix that for free, to take that pain out of their life, to take that fear out of their life, I mean, it's gold. It's really definitely good advice for sure. Um, Whenever you can do that, listeners, for customers, don't look at it as an expense to the company. Look at it as an investment in your marketing, because just to John's point, they're going to be out there and they're going to be sitting around a cocktail party, or someone, they're going to have a party in the backyard, and they'll be like, believe it or not, the guy who installed this patio 10 years ago, John called me out of the blue, and I told him about this low spot, or that wiggly step. He fixed it for free. Think about it. All of a sudden, the client's like, the listener is like, maybe I got something to do. And I think if John has that much integrity to come back after 10 years, I think I can trust him. Because again, this is a game of trust, right? Relationships are built on trust. So good, dude. I love it. So
Absolutely. So I've tried to make that like a regular thing, whether we're busy or not, and just every once in a while pick a few past clients and give
mm,
them a call.
yeah,
And just remind them that, I still care if their job looks good or not. Remind them that, we're still around. We're always looking for referrals. If they happen to know anyone, please don't keep us a secret. And it's been keeping us busy.
I love it. So let's go back to those two stories, the two that said no to you after you've done everything you're supposed to do, right? What do you think was the reason why that they told you no, or gave you the old false yes of, we got to think about it?
Yeah, one of them said, maybe next year, and I called the next year and got another maybe next year. So
So fantasy land, yeah.
yeah, they're on my list to call again this winter. And the other one was, the project creeped up with them adding a few things and me not, saying, hey, this is gonna cost more money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I definitely need to speak up when when we have a budget range and they add a couple of things that's gonna throw it above that budget range to the sooner the better. One of the they didn't ask me this, but it's something my sales trainer says. If you know I get to a point where I finally do tell them like, hey, this is gonna cost more. What if they asked me, when did you know that? And I knew that 3 weeks ago when you asked me to add this thing, but I didn't tell you. It's 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 giving them the bad news early.
It is.
The sooner the better. As soon as you know that what they're asking you to add is going to add dollars and probably bring it above the budget, the sooner you know that, the better it is to bring it up and have that conversation early.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right, dude. Because again, how do we build a relationship with trust? Honesty, brutal
Yeah,
honesty, right? And that's
honestly,
whether it's
even if it's what you don't think that they're going to want to hear it, but they do.
that's how you love your clients, is by being honest with them. And if they're going down this path, and I've had plenty of clients do this too, and I've done exactly what you did there, not said anything, because obviously they know this costs more money, right? They don't, by the way, listeners, they don't always, connect the two, more stuff with more money. Some do. And that's why this is strange, because some people are like, well, of course I'm going to pay more. I added stuff. And others are like, I added stuff, but it doesn't mean I'm going to pay more. Like, you don't know where their brains are at. So by being blunt and honest with them and be like, there's no problem, we can definitely add X, Y, and Z to your project. We would probably look, just so you know, you're probably looking at an additional 12 to 15,000 or whatever, $20,000 addition. Are you comfortable doing that and adding that to the budget? If the answer is no, that stops them in their tracks right then and there. If it's like, well, yeah, of course, no problem, then you keep moving. But it's that the faster you can get that honest communication to your customer, the more valuable you're going to be as the guide. The last thing they want, and I did this for years. I wish I could go back to it. I did this for years, is I wouldn't say that. I would do the thing figuring once they saw it, they couldn't say no. The problem is that 7 out of 10 did say no. And that was a lot of pain. And I'm like, why do they keep saying no? I don't get it. They knew it was going to cost more money. They do, but they don't. So it's our
Yeah.
job as guides, as honest people building relationships, that we're upfront with them and be like, hey guys, like we definitely can add that, but we're looking at roughly a range of about this much. I haven't put my pencil to it or anything, but is that, a direction you're looking to go with this project? Are you willing to do that? Do you want to do that? Does that make sense with your investment? And I like to use the word investment over cost because it sounds more responsible. And it's really what they're doing to their house. They're investing in it. They're not just throwing money at it. But it's so important to have that upfront, honest, trustworthy conversation as soon as absolutely possible, and don't surprise them at the end. Because one thing customers don't like, except for on their birthdays, they don't like surprises, especially when it comes to money. When it comes to money, surprises are not your friend.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I lost the trust because, when we got to the end and it was, out of the budget range, they asked if we could, what could we do to get it back in the budget range? And I came
Mhm.
up with a few ideas and
Yeah.
cut this out and make this smaller. And I adjusted the design and got the price within the budget range. And they still didn't go for it.
Yeah.
I think it was too late, and the trust was lost, and
Yeah.
it didn't matter that I got it back within the budget range. They were still hoping for everything within the first budget range we talked about, and I lost the trust and
Yep.
didn't get the project.
Yeah, and again, trust is set on expectation, right? And we never know where their expectations are coming from. They could have had an uncle 20 years ago that built a patio for $1,700, and that's what they have at 17, maybe 2,000. It's kind of upgrading. I know inflation's in there, right? So they think 2,000. All of a sudden, you come back with 12,000. They feel like you're a crook. Like, what is this guy trying to take advantage of me? Until they get other bids and they find that that's kind of the going price now. But in general, it is so important to have that conversation as early as you possibly can, because setting those expectations ahead of time clears the path for a great relationship, right? And that's really the context of all of this. Now, as we're moving forward here, when you get those no's, what's some of the dialogue that you hear inside of yourself when you hear a no, especially back to back like that? Because we all have this internal dialogue that goes on. It's that voice, at least in my head sometimes, that I'm just like, oh boy, like, I would never be friends with that guy, right? But he lives inside of my head. So it's like this voice that isn't your friend, that constantly kicks your butt. And there's times when I have a black belt and kicking my own butt. So it's like, how did that go for you when you started hearing these no's on projects you thought you had in the bag?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, oh my God, I'm a failure. All these years of, doing everything right and everybody saying yes, and then it all comes crashing down. Like, is this the way it's going to be from now on? Or, what can I do to make sure it doesn't happen again? And that's the bad news early. And as soon as I think something's going to be above budget, let them know. If I'm here in the office, working on the design, adding whatever they ask me to add, and then I see, oh my God, this is going to cost more. I just call them.
Yeah.
Call them right away. Say, hey, this is going to cost a little more. What do you want to do? And and just back to, I think, that first episode we talked about not quitting, not giving up, but learning from everything and figuring out what I can do different next time so that it doesn't happen again. And it hasn't happened again.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
again, to your point, it's a beautiful point, John. If we take these, we'll call them losses, right? Air quote losses here. And we take them as we're failing, like we're failures, not that the system didn't work or we didn't see something or we didn't listen well enough, right? That we're failing, that we're failures. The next thing you know, we'll start beating ourselves up and constantly beating ourselves up. And we have the opportunity at that point to create a meaning for what that is. I had two projects that I should have been more clear on. All right, good. It's a solvable problem in the future. I will just be more upfront. Like to your point, I'll call them as soon as something comes up, or I'll offer them options. Or in the middle of it, they say, "Hey, you know what? This is too much over our budget. We can't do it right now." A question might be, "Well, is there any parts of this that you need sooner rather than later that we could do a part of this in order to phase it?" And if they say, "Oh, no, it has to all be done together," okay, got it. But I wish we could bring the price down. Well, is there any features in here that you could live without or simplify? Which ones do you think would be that are least important to your family, and have them help you do that paring back of the project itself? Because maybe, they don't need 16 foot of seating wall. Maybe they only need 8 and they can cut it back because you're only going to have smaller gatherings, but they can still get a seating wall, right? So we hand the paintbrushes to them and let them make that decision and help feed us and guide us on what is most important. No, I can't touch that patio. We need every square foot of that patio. But you know what? The landscape lighting could wait till next year. It's not as important. Just do the integrated lighting and the hardscape, right? So what I'm saying is, by asking those questions, you let the clients guide you in the way that they are wanting, because ultimately they have to say yes or no. or we have to think about it, right? So if we give them the opportunity to be the ones speaking through that, you can get a better sense of how they're processing things, and whether it's the budget, whether it's the scope, whether it's timing, what is it that's really holding them back from moving forward? And once we have an idea of what that meaning is, then we can assign a proper meaning to it. Like, hey, maybe it's just a timing thing. It's not that we suck. It's not that we're failures. It's maybe it's timing for them. So we get the opportunity to hijack that internal negative voice, the inner critic. Be like, dude, just be quiet. Get back in your cage. Get back in that damn cage. I'm going to lock it again because you're not coming back out again. And to be able to battle that in a way that is empowering and not disempowering, because that voice can, oh boy, it can put you in a depression pretty quick. So
Yeah, it's tough.
yeah, it's definitely something that we all battle, especially as business owners. We have the weight of the world on our shoulders to run these businesses, to be husbands, wives, fathers, mothers, to smile when we're taking our kids to do stuff or go out with our buddies or what. Like, we have all this weight, and then run a company, the one that we didn't get the book for, right? Trying to figure this out. Then there's marketing, and then there's construction, and then there's sales, and then there's accounts receivable, accounts payable. We just keep stacking up all the responsibilities, and we're supposed to show up every single time with a big smile, like we got it all together. But we don't have it all together. I don't have it all together. I don't think I'll ever have it all together. But each time we get a little bit better. We learn. Is that two projects that said no to you? Is that something you just look back and hate on? Or is it something you said, I learned something from that? I learned something now that I can implement that'll help us grow in the future. So again, like I said in a previous episode about, are you 20 years experience? Is it 1 year repeated 20 times? Or is each year, are you growing? Are you accumulating like snow knowledge to move yourself toward a better future where you have more certainty and clarity around what works and what doesn't work? And that's where, like, your sales trainer or mentors in your life will help you stay on that track. Accountability is huge for that. Because there's many times I want to curl up in a ball. I'm just like, this is a lot of weight. It is a lot of weight. And if you don't have the opportunity to work with other people that go through the same thing and that have been through the same thing, it can decimate you. It can lead you to different addictions and all that, just to numb the pain. And it doesn't have to be that way if we just have people to talk to that are going through the same thing. And listeners, that's everybody in business. Nobody's got it all figured out. I haven't met one yet, and I've met a lot of business owners in my life. I've never seen one that have that all figured out. But the question is, what are you going to do with it? What meaning are you going to assign to something like the two big projects falling out? Is it going to be, I'm a failure? Or is it going to be, that is an awesome opportunity to learn something? What could I learn from that? What could I glean from that experience that I can make sure that it never happens again? And that's growth. That's what we need to constantly be looking at in business. We always got to be asking the question, how can I make this better? How can I make this, improve this? How can I make it more efficient? How can I do this better to serve more people? How? Asking the how questions really starts to open up the opportunities. How do you handle that in your business?
Yeah, that's the way. You got to just learn from it, figure out, why it happened, what I could do to better prepare myself for the next one so that I, hopefully don't repeat it again. And just, more preparation. I've gotten better with, sometimes I, get to the budget step and tell someone the project is going to cost about this, and then get back to work on the estimate, and oh crap, I missed a couple of things, and it's gonna cost a little more, and it's that immediate phone call,
Yeah.
letting them know right away, hey, it's it's gonna cost a little more than I originally thought, and hopefully keeping that trust so I don't repeat what I did in the past, and get to the end and get a no, or the think
Yeah.
about it.
Or think about it. And it's also very important, listeners, to give your clients some options. If you see things going above budget and you're like, well, this is kind of what we talked about and it's going above budget, to come in with some solutions. Like, as the guide, right? We're guiding clients. We'd be like, look, we can keep it at budget, but we're going to have to take out the outdoor kitchen. We're going to have to pull it out and it stays within budget. Are you willing to do that? We could do a really nice, grill setup you can get. I can show you a couple that'll save some money here and keep you within budget. Or are you willing to go a little further in order to get exactly what you want? Right. And to give them options and not just say, it's going to cost more and walk away, because now you look like the idiot that tried to take advantage of them. But by giving them options, and you're giving the illusion of control back to them. And ultimately, whatever they pick, you're going to benefit from, and they're going to benefit from too. So we have to be thinking of them empathetically. And, as we round out this episode, there's something that I learned a long time ago, and it really shifted the way that I see things, especially when it comes to battles and losses and failures and all those things is it's something that is core in my center and has brought me through every battle, every darkness that I've gone through in my life. And there's been tons of them. Um, is that life is always happening for me, not to me. That is something that shifted the way I see everything. I see every challenge, everything that comes into my life as an opportunity to grow. And once I took back and said, you know what, stood back and said, the life isn't happening to me. Now, I'm not a victim here. The world isn't just casting things on me. It's putting them in front of me so that I can get stronger and get better or galvanized, getting closer to mastery each and every day. And without those challenges, there is no mastery. So if you're being challenged, listeners out there, and you feel like the swings are coming from every direction, good. Step into them. You can block. You can definitely put your hands up and block. You ever been boxing? You can block. That's okay to do that. But reality is that anybody who's really doing anything in this world is constantly facing challenges, and they will face them externally and internally. We need to stand up strong to them and realize that each one is happening for us, not to us. It's a very important shift of a mindset. And if you can come to each of those challenges with gratitude in your heart and say, thank you for this, even though it might sound insane. I just lost 2 big projects. Thank you. Like, how does that make any sense to say out loud, John? But I tell you, there's power in that. Not just power over, but power through. This idea that there's goodness to be learned within those lessons. Let's do that. Let's look at them as options to learn. Let's be grateful for them and let's not do them again, right? Let's let them be 2 things that happened a long time ago that we aren't having happen again. Now, if it keeps happening over and over again, that's the definition of suffering, right? Doing the same thing and getting the same result instead of some different result. So that shift, knowing that life is always happening to you, or not to you, but for you, is going to shift everything in how things come at you, specifically when it comes to things you don't want to deal with. Awesome.
That's a great way to put it.
Thank you, John.
Absolutely. It's, just another challenge to overcome and another thing to learn the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems that, the harder you learn it, the better you learn it and the less chance of making that mistake again.
100%. Yeah, I'm a huge believer in the idea that testimony is power. God's given us his testimony, these challenges that we've had to face and go through. Everyone's different. And in that testimony, in the struggle, in the triumph, in the growth, in the celebration, in all of that, we're meant to share it. Hence the reason why I even have this podcast. I've done so many dumb things and I've made so many mistakes and I've had so many broken arms and black eyes through business that I could write another book just on that, right? But the point is that if we keep them inside of us and we don't share them, think about somebody else out there that is listening to this episode or other episodes that have been shot with other people sharing their testimony, that it shifted something. Like, I'm not alone. We all battle stuff. We all try things and less than 50% actually work. I mean, I'm probably at average, probably about 20% of the ideas I have actually work. The 80%, they burn it hard, and it's been that way my whole life. And I'm totally cool with that. I just keep getting up to swing at the ball every time. And sometimes I'll hit it, and it's knowing that's part of the process and not that I'm doing it wrong. You talk to anybody who's done anything in this world and they'll tell you the same thing. Only very few things that you do actually make a big difference, but it's getting up every day and figuring out which ones they're going to be by just trying over and over and over again. So testimony is huge by sharing it, sharing our journeys, you sharing your stories, losing those 2 projects, sharing, vulnerably here about what that was like for you and going through that. I know for sure that someone will listen to this episode and be like, wow, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one. This is common. I'm not broken. I'm on the right track. And listeners, you are on the right track. You keep showing up every day, you're on the right track. So, John, I appreciate your conversation today and your vulnerability. And I look forward to next week where we start talking a bit more about your business, where you're taking it, what kind of things you're excited about coming up. You're not going to want to miss this episode, listeners. So thanks, John.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.